Hello, I'm Jay Beershank. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to do a little bit offshoot video that I wouldn't normally do. Well, not that I wouldn't normally do, but I usually don't do videos like this, but I think that it was an interesting experience and one that I would like to share, and also one that I would have loved to watch when I was much younger and really interested in this. I had just never found the chance to microdose psilocybin, because obviously you need to have mushrooms, and you need to be able just to be willing to do it, I guess. When I was younger, I think I was always kind of more interested in the heroic dose, and I didn't have an abundance of mushrooms. So now, a little bit later, I was willing to try it, and I wish I would have been able to watch a video like this when I was more interested in it when I was younger, because maybe I would have been more willing to do it. Anyway, it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to talk about it. I microdosed 800 milligrams a day. I didn't measure it out, but the capsules I had, I used bovine capsules. They said that they held between 6 and 800 milligrams, and I filled them as much as I could. I took 30, so I had one a day for 30 days. And I'm going to basically just talk about now. I stopped taking them. It's been about a week. So I will talk about the differences that I felt as I reflect. Because for me, taking a dose this small, you don't feel it on a day-to-day basis. But I think after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and probably longer, of course, if you were to do it for a year or 6 months. Obviously, I didn't have enough mushrooms to make a year's worth of microdosing capsules, but if you were to, I'm sure then you would start to be able to reflect on what the effects are in comparison to before when you were not taking them. But as if I only did a month, I will reflect on what I can say about that. Like I said, it's something that I've been interested in for a really long time. I'm 100% a psychedelic advocate. I believe that psychedelic experience is the most transformative way that we can heal ourselves with our own methods and using a natural source. I believe psilocybin is probably the most powerful. I've never done ayahuasca. I've done other plant medicines, but for me, psilocybin speaks the loudest and is the most resonant with my being and my growth and my healing. And I have used psilocybin throughout my life to heal very much of my childhood trauma. And healing is a strange word to use, but when I say healing, I mean being able to dig into it. And I want to actually step back. I think that the idea of using psilocybin or using mushrooms to heal trauma is important, but I also think that it's overhyped. I think that the most important thing that the mushrooms do is well, in a cliche sense, they dissolve your ego. They take away the barriers, they take away the boundaries, they take away the labels, they take away the ideas, they take away the identity, and you're left with something. And whether you're left with something that scares you, makes you happy, intrigues you, what you're left with, I believe, is pure life. You're left with consciousness, you're left with divinity, you're left with the child's mind of the bliss of being alive, and everything is so surreal because you've now taken away your blinders, if you will, the things that keep you focused, the things that keep you safe, and you're exposed to the full volume, the full what's the word, voluminosity. I'm thinking of like something that's just radiant, and you're now exposed to this full voluminous experience. And obviously, if we're walking around like this on a daily basis, it can make it hard when we have these kind of more structured, singular lives that are focused on, production and focused on whatever earthly goals. But I believe that understanding that we can take away these blinders at ease and we don't need the teacher plans to do so is a extremely powerful thing, because then you realize the blinders are a funny thing because they're the thing that's holding you back the most in your life, but they're also the thing that's keeping you the safest in this world. But you're only safe because you're trying to fit into a world that is unnatural, I would say. So, I just think that it's a really beautiful experience of dissolving. And once as everything is dissolved, people have a mixture of experiences here of fear or of growth. But what I realized is that, like, oh my gosh, this is real life. This is like what's the best way to describe it? I'm just getting ahead of myself. I didn't script this out and I didn't think about it. I didn't think I'd talk about psychedelic theory, but really I just think that they allow you to go back to a place of pure curiosity, pure enjoyment, pure involvement with the present. Because everything is new. It doesn't have the labels anymore, and you're able to appreciate everything, including yourself, including other people, including all the objects that we take for granted on a daily basis. And you're able to, speak the soul, speak the language of the soul, speak the language of the world, to use it's like a quote from The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. He talks about like the language of the soul, or the language of the world, this unspoken inherent language that resonates deeply within all of us. The resonance becomes much stronger and much deeper when we take away the blinders, because the blinders are not speaking that language. The blinders are speaking a binary language that is for this and for that and for us and for we and for you and for me and all these things. So anyway, there's a little psychedelic there. But that's not the point. What did I experience by microdosing psilocybin for 30 days at 800 milligrams? I experienced a couple things now that I look back on it. One thing, my emotional guards were completely let down. What I mean by this is I was going through a really tough period with my girlfriend, and normally I'm a guy that's not closed off from my emotions, but because of my history, I have a really difficult time to have full, what's the word I want to say? Full involvement with them. I allow them to be, but I don't allow them to become me. And this can be whatever. This is a thing that you may have your opinion on, that's fine. But for me, it has been a thing sometimes where sometimes you would like to become your emotions. And I'm going to say that with the microdosing, the emotions were able to become me very easily. And I felt like I didn't have much of a guard to them, which was great. It was a great experience. I think I picked an interesting time in my life to do the microdose. Like I said, I was going through a very tough period with my girlfriend, and anyway, I was very opened up to how I was feeling, and opened up to a lot of crying and a lot of tears. And I don't think that I would have been able to have those kind of releases without the microdosing, because I've gone through not much more difficult, but I've gone through difficult things in my life very often, and I'm not able to access that depth of emotion. So I would definitely say that the emotional boundaries and the emotional guard is alleviated, and you will be able to feel very deeply. It wasn't some profound thing like I was thinking like, oh, I'm tripping right now on these emotions, but it was just like I noticed that it was like, usually when I was sad, I could feel like maybe I'd want to cry right now, but I'm not. And it was like, now I am crying. So kind of like this. So definitely this I noticed. Another thing I really noticed was that excuses didn't have any power. And I'm usually a pretty strict guy. I get up early, I go to the gym, I take care of my diet, I try to take care of other people that I love in my life, I try to take care of my routine, I try to take care of all the things that I know are fundamental and important to a happy, healthy life for me. But every once in a while, of course, I can make an excuse for this or for that, and then I can give in and whatever, I can say, oh, I did this today, or oh, deserve this, or oh, you don't need it, blah, 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 blah. With the mushrooms, I felt like it was a very subtle switch in my mind, but it was like the excuses just had no power. It was like a river, and that was a boat, and the boat would just go right by. It would never stop to try to pick me up, It would be there, but it would never have any reason to stay. And this was a kind of a beautiful thing that I noticed. And of course, you could say that this is, oh, it has nothing to do with the microdose, or oh, this is subtle. And microdosing is subtle. It's a micro dose. So I'm just talking about my personal experience, and I really felt like that was part of it. So excuses, and like basically what that translates down to is like being really clear on what needs to happen. When I say needs to, I just mean in the sense of like you're on a path and you're following a progression of steps, and you take those steps and you follow the path, that's how it goes. And deviations from the path, or well-deserved breaks on the path, or these sorts of things, they were just irrelevant. It was something that I didn't have time or the energy to entertain, because I'm clear that this is where I'm going, and I'm going to continue there because I want to get to the next step and the next step and the next step. So being really clear on purpose, mission, and goal. Was doing a lot of writing. I was interested in blogging at this point. I was doing a lot of blogging, and often that's a difficult thing for me to sit down and really dial in on when I'm talking about writing. But just no excuses. I would go to the coffee shop and I would work through it, work through it, work through it. No excuses, and I would rep those out. And other forms of writing were really good for me. And so just really clear on what I wanted to do. You know, I was pulling the trigger on a lot of things, whatever, like with crypto, I was started invested in crypto in a big way, and I started doing other things that I would just maybe have been hesitant on and made more excuses to research or to learn or to hesitate before taking action. And I just felt like all those things were gone. I was just boom, 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 taking action. It was a subtle feeling, but it was like this, you know, pat or this push or this encouragement behind me. So I'm not saying that's gone now that I've stopped, but I can see that like I have to, I'm required to have a little bit more drive and a little bit more strict or stern voice within my head that says, hey, we're going to do this, when before it just happened. So that's something that I would be definitely clear on. And so this also translates to if you take a little bit, if you've taken mushrooms before, you know you kind of have this feeling maybe sometimes in your mind where you can communicate really well and your ideas are opened and you can articulate perfectly. I would say that I didn't have that in the sense of like this hot feeling behind my eyes where I was just laser focused in, which I can have when I take a higher dose. But what I felt like was I was so clear on what the point was of why I was engaging with conversation and why I was in situations that I was in, that I was able to speak more articulate and clearly and more passionately, just because I was basically, we're talking now about presence, I guess, being clear on my mission and being clear on my steps and being clear on why I was where I was at that any given moment. It also made me be able to access a level of presence that maybe would have been a bit more clouded by mind games, if you understand what I mean. So I would say that those things were all great things. And I would definitely recommend for most people to try microdosing. I would also highly recommend for everyone to try taking a substantial dose of mushrooms with an intention. An intention is an idea or a mission or a goal, regardless of what that is. It just means that before you take them, try to access some level of connection within yourself about what's going on in your life, where you are, what you might be thinking. And this can be at any degree. I obviously am an advocate for journaling. Like, I think journaling, it has an interesting rap. You know, people have different opinions on it, but if you sit down and you allow yourself to write, you know, regardless of what you think, you know, alleviate the judgment, alleviate the barriers of, oh, what is this? It's not smart, or oh, it's too simple, or blah, blah, blah. And you just write and write and write. After a page or two or three, you will have a pretty clear idea of what's going on, you know. And I believe that this is a really crucial thing for someone who is going to embark upon their first psychedelic experience, because you want to have some kind of idea about where you're at and what you're trying to achieve, even if it's just like, you know, I'm trying to see what it's like to do this, and then it's like, well, why? And then it's like, well, I want to see what it's like to do this because I think that maybe there could be something for me. And then it's like, well, why? I think I want to do this because there could be something for me because I feel like sometimes I'm shy. Why? And then you just keep going and keep going and keep going, right? And many people don't take the time to introspect like that, but if you don't, then you will be overwhelmed by your experience with the mushrooms, because they will immediately get you to a point where they're asking you these questions and they're trying to give you answers to questions that you're not. They're trying to give you answers, or they're trying to help you solve questions that you haven't articulated to yourself clearly yet. So they seem overwhelming and random, but maybe they're actually exactly the experience that you're asking for, but you didn't know you were asking for because you haven't taken the time to actually introspect with your sub and unconscious mind. And so I believe that those are big parts of it. But yeah, so I think that's a good idea and a good little psychedelic theory and a synopsis of what it was like to microdose for a month. I would highly well, yeah, I guess I already said that. I would recommend to try and to check it out. And obviously, if you're someone that doesn't believe in psychedelics or thinks that mushrooms are drugs and bad, well, then I'm surprised you made it this far in the video. I don't really hold that idea, but I understand people who do, and we live in a culture that definitely subjugates individuals who believe in this kind of stuff. But I believe it's becoming much more mainstream. I mean, it's a medicine, it's a teacher plant, it's something that's been used a long time. It's been used a lot longer than aspirin or Xanax or ibuprofen or whatever, any kind of psychoactive or whatever effective pharmaceutical thing. So you could say that that's a bit more crazy because those are much newer, so those are much less tested. So I don't know what those things do, but I think that there's a lot of literature and there's a lot of understanding and ancestral understanding of how to use and work with teacher plants. So I believe that looking into it and trying to get some kind of a open-minded understanding of it is really important. And if you don't, then because of the basically the idea that I just mentioned, it's kind of silly that you would hold an opinion about it that's strong if you don't know much about it, and if you also then take prescription drugs or you take other mind and body altering substances without any second thought, because then it's probably meaning that you're potentially heavily influenced by media and culture, and usually when you're heavily influenced by media and culture, you're also a product of it. And what's the point of that product? What's that product doing? And those sorts of things, those things deserve critical thought, because I don't think you want to be a product. I think you want to be a human, and I hope you do, because I love being a human. It's pretty awesome. It's like the best experience that I think we could have, and that's probably why we're out here having it. So that's my thoughts about all that. If you made it through the video, I appreciate you very much. You can go check out some of my other videos, and hope you have a wonderful day. Stay in the light, stay in the love. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace out from Hunenberg, Switzerland. Peace.